So we are now on the last part of the discussion on the revised Corporation Code of the Philippines. So we have two more topics to discuss. The last two topics, corporate dissolution and liquidation, and foreign corporation. So let's start with corporate dissolution and liquidation. So we said that we are in the last part already because we are now talking about the termination of the existence of a corporation. So the last part in the life of a corporation would include the so-called dissolution and liquidation. So corporate dissolution and liquidation are critical processes since, well, you cannot just leave in abeyance the transactions entered into by the corporation. So there must be some sort of closure, okay, to make sure that no one is no one has a right that was violated and that all transactions are settled. So dapat may clearance if the corporation would cease to operate. Now, on the one hand, when we speak of dissolution, this refers to termination of the legal existence of a corporation. So dissolution, termination of corporate existence. While liquidation, on the other hand, involves the settlement of its affairs. So liquidation, settlement of corporate affairs. Now, on liquidation, when we speak of settlement, it includes payment of corporate debts to corporate creditors, as well as distributing the remaining assets of the corporation to stockholders and corporate insiders. So both dissolution and liquidation ensure that the rights of corporate creditors as well as stockholders and other stakeholders are protected. So primarily, corporate dissolution triggers liquidation. Okay? So the entire procedure of terminating corporate existence must come with this dual requirement, dissolution and liquidation. Now let's discuss more in detail the two. Let's start with the dissolution. As we said a while ago, dissolution refers to termination of corporation's legal existence. So what occurs in dissolution is, well, the corporation can no longer perform its primary purpose once it is dissolved. And if dissolved, the corporation will enter already to the liquidation stage. So hindi pwedeng ma-separate tong dalawa because one triggers the other. Now, how does dissolution occur? It occurs either voluntarily or involuntarily. And there are processes for each kind of dissolution. So for voluntary dissolution, this type of dissolution, well, as denoted by the word voluntary, is initiated by the corporation itself. And you can further classify voluntary dissolution into two. Voluntary dissolution that affect creditors or voluntary dissolution that do not affect creditors. So voluntary dissolution may either be with or without creditors being affected. Now, paano po ginagawa yung voluntary dissolution? It could be done by, for example, amending the articles of incorporation. So we know that in the articles of incorporation, the term of a corporation is provided there. It could be perpetual or it could be a fixed term. So if a corporation voluntarily decides to shorten the corporate term, then that is one way of voluntarily dissolving the corporation. Another way of voluntarily dissolving the corporation is by the corporate's act of filing a verified request for dissolution with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So magfa-file ang corporation ng request to dissolve with SEC. So that's voluntary dissolution where the act is initiated by the corporation itself. Now, how about involuntary dissolution? Well, this happens when it's not the corporation who decides to dissolve itself, but it's initiated by the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, or through a court order, due to, for example, specific grounds such as fraud, illegal activities, or continuous inoperation by the corporation. Now, there is also what we call automatic dissolution. Automatic dissolution, it is not initiated by the corporation, it's not initiated by SEC or the court, but it occurs by operation of law. Okay, like for example, in Section 36, when the corporate term as stated in the Articles of Incorporation lapse, then there is already automatic dissolution. So if, for example, the 50th year of the corporate term lapsed today, as per the Articles of Incorporation, then there is already automatic dissolution. Now, we mentioned earlier that voluntary dissolution may or may not affect corporate creditors. So what would be the procedure if the voluntary dissolution is will not affect creditors, as the corporation has no creditors? Okay? It has no debt to any third person. So the procedure is there must be board approval. That's the first step. Majority vote of the board of directors or trustees, they should approve, okay, this voluntary dissolution. Then aside from the board approval, since this is a very important corporate action, we need also the approval of the stockholders or members. A voting requirement here is at least majority of the outstanding capital stock or membership. And then after there is approval on the part of the board and the stockholders, then the corporation will file a verified request for dissolution with the SEC, including proof of notice and publication. Now take note that this is still voluntary because it's initiated by the corporation. Okay, there are only procedural requirements for SEC approval and notice. Because after all, SEC has supervision over corporations. Now, example, a corporation decides to dissolve because it has already completed its purpose. There's nothing for the corporation to do anymore. So what it will do is, of course, seek the approval of the board, approval of the stockholders or members, and then file the necessary documents with the SEC. Then once the SEC approves the dissolution, the corporation ceases its operation, except of course, for purposes of liquidation or winding up its affairs. Please take note of that very important part. Pag na-dissolve ng corporation, it doesn't mean na wala nang gagawin ang corporation. It only means that the corporation ceases its operations. Hindi niya nagagawin yung primary purpose niya. But nonetheless, it still has 3 years within which to wind up its affairs. Yun na yung tinatawag na liquidation. Now, second kind of voluntary dissolution is where creditors are affected. Meaning, pag i-terminate na ng corporation yung existence niya, meron pa siyang mga liabilities with corporate creditors. So what would be the procedure in this case? Well, first one, okay, file a verified petition for dissolution with the SEC. And then, the petition must include a list of creditors and a resolution approved by at least 2/3 of the stockholders or members. So, parang baliktad to dun sa process ng voluntary dissolution where no creditors are affected. Imbes na mag-start sa corporation imbes na ang initial step would be board approval, where creditors are affected, the first step is to file, for the corporation to file a verified petition for dissolution with SEC. And this petition must include a list of creditors and resolution approved, by the membership. So kailan nangyayari usually yung voluntary dissolution na may creditors affected? Usually a corporation does not close when it still has pending transactions with creditors. Pero kung may financial difficulties ang corporation, this is one possible. So a corporation facing financial difficulties opts for dissolution. It ensures creditors are notified and their claims are settled during the liquidation process. So hindi pa natatapos ng corporation yung purpose niya, but because it's no longer viable to operate, may opt for this one, but it has to notify all its creditors. Ngayon, we earlier mentioned about involuntary dissolution, meaning hindi yung corporation ang magde-decide na i-close nila yung corporation but another entity. And the entity is usually SEC. Okay? SEC ang mag-i-initiate ito. Now, ano usually yung grounds so that the SEC can initiate an involuntary dissolution of a corporation? These are the grounds under Section 138. Non-use of corporate charter continues in operation for at least 5 years, and fraudulent incorporation or illegal activities. So, for example, dito sa third ground, a corporation found guilty of aiding tax evasion may face involuntary dissolution. And if there's already a final judgment, then the SEC, can dissolve the corporation already. So again, when we speak of dissolution, that is the termination of the corporation's legal existence. It may be voluntary or involuntary. If it is voluntary, just distinguish whether there are creditors affected or no creditors are affected. If it is involuntary, that is initiated usually by SEC under specific grounds. Now, briefly, pagkatapos ng dissolution, darating na yung corporate liquidation such that the corporation will still operate not for the purpose for which it was established, but only to settle its affairs. And by settling affairs, what that means is by paying debts and distributing assets. The corporation will do this for a period of 3 years. So liquidation, that would be the 3-year period following the dissolution, where it will settle its affairs by paying debts and distributing assets. Okay, let's look at some jurisprudence. Reyes versus Bancom Development Corporation, 2018. Okay, the Supreme Court ruled that a corporation may continue to settle its affairs within 3 years, 3-year winding up period after dissolution. Now, take note of this. 3 years yung binibigay para i-wind up niya, i-settle niya lahat ng affairs niya. Pero kung hindi niya makayang i-settle within 3 years, then the corporation must appoint a trustee or assignee. Because beyond the 3-year period, only a trustee or assignee may act on behalf of the corporation. That's in the case of Reyes versus Bancom. So trustee or assignee ang kailangan pag more than the 3-year winding up period during the liquidation stage. Kasi hindi na pwedeng mag-file ng kaso ang corporation after the 3-year winding up period. It loses already its power to sue. A Bank of the Philippine Islands versus Bacallia Jr., 2020, Supreme Court affirmed the dissolution of several corporations and ordered the liquidation of their assets to satisfy creditors' claims. Well, in this case, the role of SEC in the supervision of corporate dissolution and liquidation was highlighted. So hindi mo pwedeng tanggalin sa picture yung Securities and Exchange Commission, lalong-lalo na pag magsesettle na ng affairs ang corporation. SEC will always exercise its supervisory functions over corporations. In majority stockholders of Ruby Industrial Corporation versus LIM, we will see again the rule on, ulitin natin to, pag na-dissolve ang corporation, although it cannot pursue anymore its primary purpose, it still has 3 years to operate for purposes of winding up its affairs only. And then, yung 3 years na yan lang talaga yung binibigay ng batas para mag-file ng kaso ang corporation, isettle niya lahat yung affairs niya, and beyond the 3 years, it cannot do it on its own. After the 3-year winding up period, a trustee, okay, may be appointed to handle the remaining matters which were not completed during the 3-year period. What are the legal processes and implications of corporate dissolution under the Revised Corporation Code? So by way of summary, the Revised Corporation Code provides for voluntary and involuntary dissolution with specific procedures and safeguards for creditors and stakeholders. The legal basis would include sections 133 to 139 of the Revised Corporation Code. So on the one hand, voluntary dissolution requires compliance with procedural requirements, including notice and approval of SEC. On the other hand, involuntary dissolution may be initiated by the SEC or through a court order based on specific statutory grounds. Now, after dissolution, you have liquidation, which ensures the orderly settlement of corporate obligations and distribution of corporate assets. So by way of conclusion, when we speak of corporate dissolution, this is regulated by a process which ultimately aims at protecting corporate creditors as well as protecting the stakeholders within the corporation, ensuring that when the corporate existence is terminated, it will be done in an orderly manner. Key terms to remember: dissolution, that's the termination of corporation's legal existence. Liquidation, that is the process of settling a corporation's obligations and distributing remaining assets. And then you also have winding up period. Ano ba tong winding up period? That is the 3-year period after the dissolution for settling corporate affairs. The winding up period refers to the period of liquidation. Now, is the winding up period synonymous with liquidation? Well, the answer is, kasi yung liquidation process may still go beyond the winding up period, as when a trustee or assignee is appointed when the corporation did not complete the winding up process during the 3-year period. So while we already discussed liquidation, pag-aralan pa po natin yung liquidation. Yan. So we're done with dissolution already. Let's talk more about liquidation. So we already know that in liquidation, at kung may maiwan pa, the remaining assets will be distributed to the stakeholders of the corporation. You can see there the dynamics of the trust fund doctrine. Unahin muna yung creditors bago yung stakeholders. Now, in order to do all of this, the liquidation necessarily requires collecting all corporation's assets. Collect muna. So, i-audit muna lahat. And after the auditing, okay, the collection of the corporate assets, dyan na magbabayad. Okay, babayaran niya na lahat ng liabilities. And after paying the liabilities, the corporation will distribute the remaining assets. So, in liquidation, i-audit muna, i-collect, i-gather lahat ng assets, and Kung may complete list na ng corporate assets, trust fund doctrine, bayaran muna lahat ng creditors. Pag nabayaran na lahat, that's the only time that stockholders or members will have a share on the corporate assets. Now, what are the legal basis for the liquidation process? Of course, you need to consider first sections 136 and 138 discussing dissolution. Kasi hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng corporate liquidation kung walang dissolution. Okay? The specific provision dealing with corporate liquidation is Section 139. Okay? Section 139, okay, which allows a dissolved corporation to continue as a body corporate for 3 years only for the purpose of winding up its affairs. Let's talk about the key features of liquidation. Number one, the 3-year period for liquidation. A dissolved corporation remains a body corporate for 3 years. Yung 3 years na yan is meant to do these things. Prosecute and defend suits. Fa-file ng dapat na kaso para makuha lahat ng assets. Second, settle and close its affairs, meaning bayaran yung dapat bayaran. Third, dispose of and convey its property. Fourth, distribute its assets. Now, take note of this. A corporation during the liquidation stage can no longer continue the business for which it was established. So the 3-year period here of corporate existence is limited only for these things. Okay? I-settle yung corporate affairs, pero hindi na dapat mag-continue yung corporation for what it was established. Another key feature, appointment of trustees. If liquidation is not completed within the 3-year period, the corporation may transfer its remaining assets to trustees. Take note of that kasi wala na talagang corporation after the 3-year period. Kung di niya natapos within the 3-year period, then the corporation must do this, transfer its remaining assets to trustees. And it will be the trustees who will continue the liquidation process for the benefit of stockholders, members, creditors, and other interested parties. So is the trustee or are the trustees the same as the corporation? The answer is no. Iba yung personality ng trustees. But the transfer of the remaining assets to trustees would be the solution for the limitation provided by law, yung 3 years. Kasi after niyan, hindi na pwedeng mag-act as a body corporate ang corporation, even for purposes of winding up. So you need a trustee to continue the liquidation process so that all those interested parties will not forfeit their rights. Paano kung napabayaan yung liquidation? Meaning, hindi, or paano kung hindi na kompleto yung liquidation, walang trustee na in-appoint, or kahit may trustee, hindi pa rin natapos yung buong process. Then, we have another rule, yung rule on escheat of unclaimed assets. Escheat of unclaimed assets. So any undistributed assets belonging to unknown or unlocatable creditors or stockholders are escheated to the national government. Then, of course, pursuant to the trust fund doctrine, you have this rule, prohibition on asset distribution. Of course, we followed this rule. No corporation may distribute its assets. Bawal ang distribution kung hindi pa nababayaran lahat ng corporate debts and liabilities. So, no corporation may distribute its assets except upon lawful dissolution and after settling all debts and liabilities. There's some jurisprudence on liquidation that would highlight the important principles in liquidation. Alabang Corporation versus Alabang Hills Village Association. Supreme Court ruled that a corporation loses its legal capacity to sue after the 3-year liquidation period unless trustees are appointed to continue pending actions. So the point here is, kung hindi nag-appoint ng trustee ang corporation, wala nang chance ang corporation to run after mga corporate debtors. This highlights the importance of completing liquidation within the prescribed period or appointing trustees to protect the corporation's interest. Reyes versus Bancom Development Corporation, 2018. The court clarified that even after the 3-year period, trustees or assignees may continue pending suits or initiate new ones on behalf of the dissolved corporation. Okay? This is an exception to the rule, okay? Because you have this rule on trustees and assignees to ensure that the rights of creditors and stockholders are protected. Okay? Yu versus Yu Kai Guan, 2009, the court emphasized that liquidation involves collecting assets, then after collecting, paying creditors, and after paying creditors, distributing remaining assets to stockholders. So that's the chronological order: collecting, paying, and then distribution. It is also reiterated that the process must comply with the corporation's bylaws unless it is inconsistent with the law. Tignan rin natin yung mga nuances na nakalagay sa corporation, the corporate bylaws. May kailangan tayong i-kwan rin dito, i-emphasize. If the dissolution that came before liquidation is involuntary yan, sino ang magmamanage doon sa collecting, paying, and distribution? Take note that involuntary dissolution is initiated by the SEC and not by the corporation. So kung involuntary dissolution, during the liquidation, there is a liquidator appointed by SEC who will oversee the settlement of debts and the distribution of assets. So ang liquidator after the involuntary dissolution is SEC appointed. So for purposes of the bar, these are some key points to remember. You take note of the 3-year period for liquidation. Kung hindi makaya yung 3 years, then take note of the role of trustees in continuing liquidation after the 3-year period. And take note also of the prohibition on continuing business operations during the liquidation process. So sample bar question. A corporation was dissolved on January 1, 2020. January 1, 2020 na dissolve. On February 1, 2025, a creditor files a claim against the corporation. So 5 years na, more than 5 years yung nakalipas. Saka lang nag-file ng kaso yung creditor. Can the creditor still recover? Answer, no. The creditor cannot recover directly from the corporation because the 3-year liquidation period starting from January 1, 2020 or only until January 1, 2023 already expired. However, if there was a trustee appointed, then the creditor may still pursue the claim against the trustees. So the presence of trustees, the appointment of trustees is beneficial both to the corporate insiders as well as to creditors.